Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today we're going to be sitting down with birth father Nikolai, who's going to share his experience of being pregnant, placing a child for adoption, and what open adoption looks like today for him. We are super excited to welcome Nikolai. Just to kind of give a brief background of who we are, my name is Amanda Aliberti, and I'm a social worker out of the Delaware office of Adoptions from the Heart. I do identify as a female with my preferred pronouns as she/her. So Nikolai, can you just give a brief introduction of who you are and how you identify?
Hi, I'm Nikolai Given. I identify as a male and my pronouns are he/him.
So Nikolai, we are always really excited when birth parents as a whole are able to come on this platform and share their story. And one of our goals is to really allow our community to recognize that not all birth fathers are the same, right? Everybody has their own journey, their own experience, and we're just really excited to learn about yours. So can you take us back to when you first found out that you were pregnant and kind of where you were at in life at that point?
Yeah. Okay, so when I first found out I was pregnant, I legit freaked out. I had missed my period, and that was kind of normal for me. Like, I never had a regular period, but then I saw the test, and I screamed. I was like, no, that's not possible. And then my roommate came in, and she was like, oh, yep, that's possible. And I was like, no. I did have enough time to reach out to a person at UPMC who got me in contact with Stephanie through Adoptions from the Heart, and she was actually like really easygoing, made the whole process super smooth. I believe we met when I was like 4 months pregnant, and then we talked about like what kind of families I would be looking for and what kind of adoption I would be looking for, because before I talked to Stephanie, I didn't think there was such a thing as an open adoption. And then when she had told me about that, it kind of blew my mind. And then I had told her that I specifically wanted to do an LGBT family. That way he would be raised in an open environment where like he wouldn't be scared to come out if he ends up being anything. And then we looked through, I think there was like 30 folders of different potential parents, and I came across Tony and Jared, and I was like, I got a feeling about this one. And then I had made one pile of parents that I would consider and the pile that I didn't want to consider. And then we set up a meeting with Tony and Jared, and it went like really well. I vibe with them a lot. They're really nice and they're really open.
What was most important to you that kind of drew you to Tony and Jared? Like what was most significant in your solidifying, okay, this is the right family, this is the right decision? Like what made that so strong for you?
The 3 visits a year.
Okay.
Because like I don't want to bombard on their life as parents, but at the same time, like I still wanted to be able to see my kid enough to the point where he'll remember like who I am.
Sure.
And also because when I had talked to them, they were fine with calling me bio dad for Skylar. They're fine with educating him on how the whole process works, and they're fine with him knowing basically everything about the situation. And I didn't want to end up with a couple that would kind of lie to him about the situation until he's old enough, and until he's old enough to understand, which would be until he's 18 and he finds out. And then also because they kept the name Skylar, because like I had that picked out for like since I was 15, I think, because it's gender neutral, so like no matter what happens, he's fine either way.
Well, and it sounds like prior to learning more about open adoption, you really hadn't known what your options could look like, and maybe hearing what open adoption could bring and finding a family that was really well educated and strongly believed in what openness could do for a child, right? Being honest, talking about your full story, full biological family, ultimately helped you in solidifying your decision. That's good. That's good to hear. Talk to me a little bit about where you were at in terms of your transitioning when you found out that you were pregnant and got connected to Adoptions from the Heart.
Well, I had already socially transitioned. Like everyone was already using he, him pronouns for me, and everybody was already calling me Nikolai. I think I actually started transitioning socially when I was 14, but due to where I was living, it was difficult. And then I didn't start testosterone during that entire process because I was under 18. I couldn't like sign it for myself. But then after I had Skylar, I think I started testosterone in September.
What was that experience like in terms of the people around you? Hospital staff? It sounds like Stephanie was very much involved in your life at that point as your social worker through Adoptions from the Heart. How did it feel? Like, how did people treat you going through this process?
For the most part, everything went okay. I think there was only one nurse that was a little iffy on the whole situation, but other than that, everything went pretty well.
So you didn't really feel any sort of judgment from anyone at any point during the process? Because, you know, sometimes in general, as a birth parent, you can feel some type of way, right? How are people going to perceive me during this process?
Oh, yeah.
Whether it's the community, people around you, staff at the hospital. So it sounds like overall you had a good experience.
Yeah. I mean, there was some ups and downs on social media with how people reacted, but for the most part, anytime somebody would badly react, there was like 1,000 other people that were trying to correct them. And I don't know, like, I know there's always gonna be some misunderstanding in the world, and when people don't understand something, it's scary. And when it's scary, a lot of the times, instead of trying to understand it, they avoid it and just kind of be in denial, like it doesn't exist.
Sure.
But despite that, there's always going to be love in the world, and there's always going to be people who are trying to communicate and trying to teach, because just because you're scared of something doesn't mean you shouldn't learn about it.
I was just listening to something the other day where somebody said, it's better to be confused than to be sure.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I was like, they're so right, because oftentimes when people are unclear, or you talked about the one nurse who maybe was a little shaky, usually it's just because they're not educated on it, right? And they're trying to understand and learn. And it sounds like you come from a place where you're willing to help educate and kind of talk about it. And again, while it's not your job to educate the world on what it's like to be a transgendered birth father, I do think that you speaking out will just kind of allow people to look at it from a different perspective, right? And that's our hope, is for people to realize that not all birth mothers, not all birth fathers are all the same, right? You've had your own unique journey with this, and ultimately, I think we're just happy to hear that you're in a good place and you feel confident in the decision you made for Skylar, which is nice.
Is it fine if I use a quote?
Sure, we would love that. I love quotes.
So this quote is actually something that my mom told me while I was pregnant. Not my biological mom, but like my chosen mother. I feel like everyone in the LGBT family has a chosen mother now. So basically, she was saying that you're supposed to do one thing that scares you each day, otherwise you will live your entire life afraid. And basically, what that means is just live. like don't lock yourself away and not do anything because you're scared of doing something, because otherwise you're never gonna grow and you're never gonna be able to get past that fear.
Talk to me about what life looks like today in terms of your relationship with Skylar and Tony and Jared.
Oof. Well, I do have another visit coming up. They actually come down here, which is rough for them. I know it is, because it's like over a 4-hour drive. And they do 23 snaps. It's an app that they basically upload photos whenever they want, and then I can go through and look at them. That's really nice, especially whenever I'm missing Skylar. I just kind of scroll through there and like, he's okay, you're good. They do message me at least once a week, like to give me an update and see how I'm doing and whatnot. That's nice too. It really makes me feel like they're trying to include me in their family, and sometimes it's a scary feeling, but at the same time it is very nice and reassuring. I also, the hospital gave me a memento box, so I have Skylar's baby blanket in there and his hospital bracelet and a print of his footprints. I also have a journal, because I feel like once he's old enough to read, a tactile journal will probably feel what's the word? Like he'd enjoy it better than just looking at it on a screen.
Sure.
So whenever I'm thinking about him and stuff, I'll write in that, and then basically anytime I learn something new, I also write in that. Just like little random tidbits of information.
Nick, what is it that you most want Skylar to know about you? What is one thing that's super important that you want your son to know about you?
The one thing that I want him to know the most about me would be that I wasn't trying to just shrug off. Like, he wasn't a burden to me. It was just that I knew that with where I was at in life, I wouldn't have been able to take care of him. And I knew that he deserved to be in a family that would never have to question where their next meal is coming from. Yeah. I just want him to know that he means the world to me. And despite how much it hurt, I knew that he needed to be taken care of.
Well, thank you so much, Nikolai. I am so grateful that you are brave enough to not only choose adoption, but to also come on this platform and share a very private, vulnerable part of your life with our community. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much to Nikolai for being brave enough to share your experience being a birth father. We are really hopeful that this interview can really impact our community by allowing people to understand that not all birth fathers look and act the same. Each birth parent has their own unique experience, and we just want to make sure that all of our clients always receive the supportive services that they need before, during, and after placement. Transitioning as a transgendered person is not easy. Choosing adoption and facing an unplanned pregnancy is also not easy. We want all of our clients to know that they can feel comforted knowing that they can reach out connect with a social worker and receive the support that they deserve during this process. Thank you so much, guys, and tune in next week.